Would you stay silent? Or let revenge speak for you? Welcome to the stories on Shattered Vengeance. Step into a world where love turns dangerous, revenge feels inevitable, and every story drags you deeper into the shadows of desire, betrayal, and the human heart. Let's begin today's story. My sister Rachel announced her tax optimization strategy at Sunday brunch like she'd discovered something clever. The mimosas kept flowing. Mom beamed with pride. Homestead exemption, Rachel explained to our parents, cutting into her eggs benedict. Saved me $8,400 last year alone. Property taxes are theft anyway. I looked up from my coffee. Where did you file it? The Riverside house, obviously. She waved her fork dismissively. The one sitting empty while you travel for work constantly. The Riverside house. My house. The 3-bedroom craftsman I'd purchased in 2016 with my VA loan. The house I'd renovated myself over 18 months. New kitchen, refinished floors, the bathroom I'd retiled on my knees. You filed homestead exemption on my property? Family property, Mom corrected gently. Rachel's just being smart about taxes. Dad nodded. She's using the space. You're barely there 6 months a year with your consulting contracts. My consulting work did take me across the country. But I'd kept that house as my anchor. My legal residence. My voting address. The place I returned to between projects. Did you change your driver's license address? I asked. Rachel hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. I use it for mail. But you own the downtown condo. The one you bought in 2019. Investment property, she said quickly. Doesn't count. I set down my coffee cup. The cold ceramic felt solid, real. Homestead exemption requires it to be your primary legal residence. It is, Rachel insisted. I stay there when you're gone. The waiter refilled our water glasses. The restaurant hummed with late-morning conversation. Everything felt normal except the small detail that my sister had committed tax fraud using my property. I didn't argue further. I'd learned that lesson years ago when Rachel borrowed my car for a weekend and returned it 3 months later with 12,000 miles and a cracked windshield. When she'd used my credit card just once for groceries and I'd found $4,300 in charges. When she'd listed me as a reference for an apartment, then skipped on $8,000 in rent, leaving debt collectors calling my phone. Family helps family, Mom always said. Stop keeping score, Dad would add. But I'd started keeping score. Quietly. In a spreadsheet I never mentioned. Every loan never repaid. Every boundary crossed. Every time just this once became a pattern. This was different though. This wasn't borrowing. This was fraud using my legal property. Monday morning I called the county assessor's office. Property records request, I told the clerk. I need the homestead exemption history for 847 Riverside Drive. That'll take 3 to 5 business days, she said. We'll email the documents. The records arrived Wednesday. 7 years of homestead exemption filings. All showing Rachel's name. All claiming 847 Riverside Drive as her primary legal residence. All signed with her electronic signature. $8,400 yearly reduction. Times 7 years. $58,800 in tax exemptions she wasn't entitled to. I pulled my own property records. Deed in my name only. Mortgage statements to my address. Property insurance listing me as sole owner. Utility bills, the ones I paid showing my account. Then I requested Rachel's property records. The downtown condo, purchased December 2019 for $385,000. Mortgage in her name. HOA fees paid from her account. 2 properties. 2 owners. 1 fraudulent homestead exemption. I called back Thursday. I need to speak with someone about a homestead exemption discrepancy. They transferred me to Linda Morrison, Senior Tax Assessor. Her voice was professional, measured. How can I help you? My sister filed homestead exemption on my property. For 7 years. While owning her own condo. Silence on the line. Then, can you send me the documentation? I emailed everything. Property deed. Mortgage statements. Utility bills. My voter registration showing 847 Riverside as my address since 2016. Rachel's condo purchase records. Her HOA payment history. Linda called back within 2 hours. Mr. Torres, I'm looking at your documentation. You're the legal owner of 847 Riverside Drive. Since 2016. Bay loan. I renovated it myself. And your sister Rachel Torres owns 1240 Lakeview Condo, Unit 304? Purchased December 2019. She's claimed homestead exemption on your property since 2017. Yes. Linda's voice shifted. Professional but cold. Our audit program actually flagged this last month. We've been investigating. Your call confirms our findings. My chest tightened. Your audit program? We cross-reference property ownership with homestead exemption claims. Rachel Torres appears in our system as owner of one property, but claiming exemption on another. That's automatic fraud investigation territory. She explained the process. The audit program, implemented in 2023, scanned all county property records quarterly. It looked for discrepancies, people claiming exemptions on properties they didn't own, or claiming multiple exemptions, or filing while owning other properties. How many properties does your sister actually live in? Linda asked. The condo. She stays at my house when I'm traveling, but it's my legal residence. Does she pay rent? No. Utilities? No. Everything's in my name. I pay them. Linda's keyboard clicked in the background. Mr. Torres, homestead exemption requires the property to be the owner's primary legal residence. Not the person filing the exemption. The owner's residence. I understand. Your sister has claimed $58,800 in exemptions she wasn't entitled to. That's 7 years of fraudulent filings. Each filing is a separate offense under state law. The restaurant noise from Sunday brunch echoed in my memory. Rachel's confident voice. Saved me $8,400 last year alone. What happens now? I asked. We've already initiated proceedings. Rachel will receive notice of exemption denial and assessment of back taxes, penalties and interest. The total comes to approximately $127,000. I did the math silently. $58,800 in fraudulent exemptions. Plus penalties. Plus 7 years of compound interest. We're also referring this to the district attorney's office, Linda continued. Tax fraud is a criminal offense. Filing false homestead exemptions carries potential jail time. How long has your investigation been active? 3 weeks. Your call provided crucial corroboration. We have enough for prosecution now. I thought about Rachel at brunch. Bragging. Confident. Completely unaware that the system she'd defrauded was already closing in. One more thing, Linda said. We found 4 other properties in the county with similar discrepancies. Your sister wasn't alone in this scheme. But she's the most egregious case. 7 years of continuous fraud while owning a separate property. Rachel called that afternoon. Her voice was tight, panicked. What did you do? I requested my property records, I said calmly. The county assessor sent me a letter. They're demanding $127,000. They're calling it fraud. It is fraud. You reported me? Her voice cracked. Your own sister? You filed false tax documents using my property. For 7 years. I thought. You thought what? That you could steal tax exemptions indefinitely? It's not stealing. You weren't using the house. I stared at the wall of my hotel room in Phoenix. I'd been here 6 weeks for a consulting contract. But 847 Riverside was still my home. Still my legal residence. Still my property. Whether I use it is irrelevant, I said. You don't own it. You can't claim homestead exemption on property you don't own. Mom and Dad said it was fine. Mom and Dad don't determine tax law. Rachel's breathing was ragged. I can't pay $127,000. I'll lose everything. You should have considered that before committing tax fraud. Please. Talk to them. Tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was 7 years of deliberate false filings. She hung up. Mom called an hour later. Rachel is devastated. You need to fix this. There's nothing to fix. She committed tax fraud. She made an error in judgment. Family forgives family. This isn't about forgiveness. This is about criminal law. You're destroying your sister over a technicality. I closed my eyes. The years of borrowing, boundary crossing, And just this once played through my mind like a reel. Her. The credit card. The rental reference. The assumption that my property, my credit, my life was available for her convenience. It's not a technicality, Mom. It's $127,000 in tax fraud. Dad called next. Your sister needs help. Not prosecution. She had 7 years to stop filing false claims. We're family, he said. Family helps family. Family doesn't commit fraud using each other's property. The district attorney's office filed charges 3 weeks later. Criminal tax fraud. 7 counts. 1 for each year of false homestead exemption filings. Rachel hired an attorney. He called me professional and courteous. My client is willing to pay restitution in exchange for reduced charges. That's between her and the DA. Your testimony would be helpful. If you could characterize this as a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She knew she didn't own the property. She knew she owned a condo. She filed false documents for 7 years. He sighed. You're not willing to help your sister? I'm not willing to commit perjury. The case moved forward. Rachel pleaded guilty to 3 counts in exchange for dropping 4. Restitution, $127,000. Probation, 5 years. Community service, 500 hours. No jail time but a permanent criminal record. The money came from her condo sale. She'd built $90,000 in equity. The rest came from her retirement account, penalties included. She moved into a rental apartment. Studio. $1,400 monthly. I changed my locks. Updated my property insurance. Added security cameras. Made it explicitly clear in county records that only I had authorization for any legal or tax filings related to 847 Riverside Drive. Mom stopped calling. Dad sent one final text. I hope you're proud of yourself. I wasn't proud. I wasn't vindictive. I was just done. Done with the assumption that my property, my credit, my life was communal family property to be used without permission. Done with family helps family being code for, let Rachel take what she wants. I sat on the porch of 847 Riverside Drive last Sunday. My porch. My house. My legal residence that I'd defended. The property tax bill arrived. Full rate. No homestead exemption claimed by anyone but me. I paid it. $14,200 annually. The actual cost of owning property. Rachel had tried to steal that. For 7 years. While bragging about her cleverness. The county's audit program had caught her. My documentation had confirmed it. The legal system had held her accountable. Family doesn't help family commit fraud. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And I finally have both.